Thanks. I'm Brandt Hershman from Indiana. I'm just sitting here thinking best practices. We just established a lottery ticket in which the prize is a multi-year supply of bacon. I'm not sure what it says about us, but it's selling. Well, caramelized bacon, you're right. First of all, I've got to pay the bills. My remarks are brought to you by the Venezuelan Tourism Board. Their normal speaker is Bernie Sanders, but he's out busy trying to draw Hillary back to her true values. So, visit Venezuela, the socialist workers' paradise, and if you come, please bring bread and toilet paper with you. Now, on to the remarks. First of all, I'm proud of all of you. This isn't a brag fest about our own individual accomplishments, but rather the idea that a rising tide lifts all boats. And the day after the stock market hit its lowest point since the first week of 2008, I think there's a lot to be said for what's going wrong in the federal government and the economy, and a lot to be said for what's right in the states which we represent. And so rather than criticize, I'm going to lay out a handful of broader topics rather than one specific thing that we've done in Indiana. And I know many of these things will sound familiar to you, but they seem to be very difficult for Washington to grasp. Number one, attracting economic investment requires a favorable tax and regulatory climate. It requires infrastructure. It requires a quality of life. Sounds simple, right? You know how easy it is to get there. Second of all, economic growth from investment raises revenue, allowing you to further lower taxes and become more competitive while still investing in things like education and infrastructure and other priorities. Many of us have done that. Third of all, when you spend your new revenue, make sure that you maintain a balanced budget and keep a healthy reserve for days like yesterday, because none of us know what our revenue picture is going to look like in the coming year. For Indiana, we just came out of a session in May, 1,258 bills introduced, 261 laws, 252 were bipartisan, 140 were unanimous. Making tough decisions doesn't have to be divisive, no matter what the left says. Second of all, we passed a $30 billion balanced budget for our 6.5 million people, with the largest education investment in our state's history. Well, you'll be shocked to know the teachers union said it wasn't enough money. But while we did that, we came out of the fiscal year with a $210 million structural surplus and almost a 12% reserve balance, over $2 billion, second largest in our history. And that balanced budget was possible even after we lowered corporate taxes. We're on the glide path to the second lowest in the nation. Our income taxes have been lowered to the second lowest in the nation. We eliminated the inheritance tax, and we've eliminated business personal property taxes on half the business taxpayers in the state of Indiana. How do we do it? Number one, we held the line on spending. During the last economic downturn, we reduced our non-pension debt by 40%. I've seen one figure, and I've got to verify it, but I believe we have the lowest per capita number of state employees in the United States. And they're good employees, and we value them. But we've seen results, and other states haven't followed along. Representative Anthony. According to the most recent report, we just reached a record high in private sector employment, 4.7%. Illinois is at 6%. We have 58, by my count, companies that have moved from Illinois to Indiana at this point. They fled the regulation. They fled the taxes. Governor Rauner is facing a very difficult challenge over there. And the entrenched political class continues with their arrogance, being unwilling to accept proven success at their doorstep, not just in Indiana, but in Michigan and in Ohio and in Kentucky. Indiana's been ranked first in the nation for the cost of doing business, first in the Midwest by Chief Executive Magazine, and Joe Henchman's here. I love to have Joe here. We're 8th in the nation in business tax climate. Wasn't always that way. In 2004, we were number 38. We've moved up 30 places, and I hope we're knocking on the door of number 7 before too long. What's happened as a result? A couple of things. Number one, the investment that I talk about. Number two, trying to keep a hold on the cost of living. Take $100. In Indiana, it will buy you $109 in goods. In Barack Obama's kind of home, Illinois, it'll buy you $99.01. In Hillary's kind of home in New York, it'll buy $86.73, and in the home of all wisdom, Washington, D.C., it'll buy $84 and change. This is a result of conservative leadership. And I would say to you, the other thing that we've done outside of fiscal restraint has been in labor relations. While Wisconsin's received a lot of the attention, and I'm glad they did, we passed right to work. We've had over 100 companies and $3 billion worth of investment tell us that it had an impact on what they did and why they came to us. And last year, along with some help from our folks in West Virginia and other states, we got rid of prevailing wage, saving the taxpayers more money. It's hard work, and I know you know it because you've all been through it. My message to you is this. When the liberal-leaning states seek to shift their blame for problems via emotional rhetoric and divisive conversations about obscure things like social justice, we have the opportunity as a collective group to talk about our demonstrated fact-based successes that are improving the quality of living for our residents and doing so in an atmosphere of limited government. It's what liberty and freedom are all about. I'm proud of you, and I'm proud to be with you. Thanks so much.